that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
she's a good actress,
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
wow.
The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
And there is no resolution in sight for the Walt Disney Company when it comes to Snow White 2025 at the box office. This is exactly why Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is in pure panic mode.
Disney just hit the panic button, and it's not hard to see why. The once unshakable studio behind so many cherished childhood memories is staring at a crisis no one predicted would explode this wildly. After pouring vast resources into a live-action Snow White remake, Disney now finds itself scrambling for a do-over, essentially rebooting the reboot. Fans and critics alike are shaking their heads, wondering how a brand that practically invented the modern fairy tale could manage to stumble this badly. It all started as a supposedly bold reinterpretation, a more modern spin on the 1937 classic that made Disney a household name. The cast and crew touted the project as a brand new take on Snow White, promising empowered characters, inclusive storytelling, and a spirit more in line with contemporary social values. That might sound harmless enough, but beneath the shiny marketing veneer lurked a wave of public skepticism. Devoted Disney fans, protective of the stories they grew up with, felt an odd, uneasy vibe from the beginning. And soon enough, what started as mild concern exploded into full-blown outrage when actress Rachel Zegler made public comments that many felt were downright dismissive of the beloved original. Within days, social media lit up with trending hashtags, furious threads, and heated debates about whether Disney had finally gone too far. But that wasn't the whole story. Rachel Zegler, once seen as a rising star thanks to her performance in West Side Story, suddenly found herself in the center of an internet storm she couldn't easily escape. While promoting the new Snow White, she made offhand remarks about the prince, calling him irrelevant and labeling certain aspects of the 1937 film as creepy or outdated. Her words, which might have been intended as playful jabs, were perceived by many fans as outright disrespect for the story that made Disney what it is today. The backlash was swift and loud. The phrase, "Not my Snow White," popped up everywhere, from Twitter feeds to YouTube comment sections. Fans accused Zegler of arrogance, suggesting that her approach seemed more concerned with pushing a personal agenda than honoring a treasured piece of cinematic history. Even more damaging, critics latched onto her every quote, amplifying each statement until the entire conversation around the remake revolved around whether Zegler could be trusted to handle such an iconic role. Instead of celebrating a new Disney princess, fans were left wondering if Disney had lost its mind by hiring someone who appeared to sneer at the original. And what happened next would shock everyone. The fan revolt was bad enough, but the real shock came when mainstream media turned against Disney. Outlets once known for giving the Mouse House the benefit of the doubt began publishing articles calling the film troubled and doomed. Public relations teams raced to spin the narrative, but every new interview or social media post seemed to ignite fresh backlash. Early teaser trailers flopped in terms of public reception. Fans complained the footage felt soulless, lacking the whimsy and heart associated with Disney's classic tales. Meanwhile, insiders whispered of corporate panic. Executives reportedly called emergency meetings to assess the brand damage. Could the film be salvaged with last-minute edits? Would more controversies emerge if cast members continued to make offhand comments about rewriting the old fairy tale formula? As these questions piled up, so did skepticism on review aggregator sites. Even the minimal promotional clips were dissected on YouTube, garnering millions of views from an audience more fascinated by the fiasco than the film itself. Disney's hope of building hype instead sparked a storm of criticism that overshadowed any genuine excitement. Hashtags like "Not my Snow White," "Your boycott Disney," and "Save our classics" dominated social media for weeks, rallying disillusioned viewers who felt Disney had drifted too far from its core audience. YouTube video essays on the topic racked up massive view counts, with content creators dissecting every leak, interview, and rumor. Some defended Zegler's modern perspective, while others blasted the studio for ignoring the nostalgic appeal that kept fans loyal for decades. Parents voiced frustration, recalling how the 1937 film captivated generations with its innocence, music, and simple magic. They questioned why Disney felt compelled to fix a story that never seemed broken. Surrounded by relentless calls to respect the original, Disney found itself cornered. The meltdown had spilled beyond niche fan circles, growing into a cultural debate over Disney's core identity. In a move that stunned even seasoned insiders, Disney announced it would reboot Snow White a second time, before the first reimagining had fully launched. Official statements promised a return to the magic of the 1937 original, hinting that the previous attempt had deviated too much. Production was set for 2025, with a planned theatrical release in 2027. Reactions were mixed. Some fans found the idea of rebooting a reboot absurd, while others were relieved that Disney might correct course. Press releases emphasized classic Hollywood elegance and a vow to avoid modern pitfalls. Still, questions lingered. How did it get so bad that Disney needed a second reboot before audiences even saw the first? Leaked emails revealed a tug-of-war between marketing executives who believed any publicity, negative or not, was beneficial, and creative teams eager to maintain some of the original's charm. PR staff found themselves caught in the crossfire, fearing each cast interview could spark another controversy. Tensions escalated when images of redesigned dwarfs circulated online. Traditionalists felt they barely resembled the classic characters, while others argued updates were necessary to sidestep stereotypes. The result? A muddled campaign that struggled to reassure longtime fans. One day, Disney touted the film's bold feminist approach. The next day, it insisted the story would remain faithful to Walt's vision. By the time merchandise hit shelves, public perception had soured so completely that few wanted tie-in products from what was already shaping up to be a highly divisive film. Anticipating a potential catastrophe, Disney reached out to its old guard, veteran artists and animators who'd worked on iconic princess movies. Dubbed legacy advisors, they were tasked with guiding the 2027 reboot back to its fairy tale core. They advocated reintroducing beloved elements, whimsical forest animals, uplifting songs, and a focus on classic romance, while making only modest tweaks to address modern tastes. For fans yearning for Disney's earlier brand of magic, the involvement of these legacy animators was a hopeful sign. Maybe, just maybe, the studio could rediscover the wonder that once defined it. Others were more cynical, viewing the move as a corporate bandage for a self-inflicted wound. Either way, insiders saw it as a significant step, proof that Disney realized it couldn't keep alienating the audience that built its empire. By the time the second reboot was confirmed, the fanbase was split. Some were relieved that Disney saw the error of its ways, believing the company might finally heed audience demands for authenticity. Others viewed the pivot as pure damage control, Disney scrambling to avoid another PR and financial disaster. Comment sections buzzed with debates over whether the 2027 film would be a genuine homage or a superficial attempt to placate angry fans. Industry pundits pointed out that if Disney truly nailed the emotional core of the original, all could be forgiven. However, just one ill-timed statement or misguided plot change could reignite the backlash. With the 2025 version still looming, the studio braced itself for potentially catastrophic box office results, hoping the negativity wouldn't permanently poison the well for the 2027 release. A flop of this magnitude hits Disney far beyond ticket sales. When a film stumbles, merchandising, theme park synergy, and licensing deals often collapse. Retailers who had stocked shelves with Snow White dolls and apparel found themselves slashing prices once online sentiment soured. Photos of clearance bins spread across social platforms, amplifying the narrative that Disney's golden name no longer guaranteed success. Brand loyalty, once one of Disney's greatest assets, showed its limits. Parents hesitated to buy merchandise tied to a movie with such negative buzz. Fans questioned whether modern Disney truly valued the fairy tales they grew up with. Another big failure under the Snow White banner could further erode consumer confidence, endangering future projects and the overall strategy of reimagining beloved classics. In official statements, Disney pitched the 2027 Snow White as a reverent love letter to the 1937 masterpiece. Iconic tunes like "Someday My Prince Will Come" are slated to return, albeit with subtle orchestral updates. Early concept art hints that the dwarfs will be far closer to the originals in personality and design, avoiding the radical departures that angered purists. The comedic interplay, forest magic, and heartfelt romance are once again front and center. Unlike the 2025 version, which took pride in rewriting large swaths of the tale, the second reboot aims to celebrate tradition. Disney seems determined to prove it can still deliver the classical fairy tale wonder that launched its empire. Insiders describe it as a mission to restore faith in the brand. If they can't get Snow White right, can any of their legacy remakes succeed? Lessons learned from the first reboot are clear. Star interviews can make or break public perception. Reports suggest that Disney will impose stricter oversight on cast appearances, ensuring no off-the-cuff remarks disparage the original film. The next Snow White actress must embody the wide-eyed innocence that longtime fans expect. No jaded takes on whether the prince matters or if the romance is outdated. Casting rumors point to a search for someone with a strong singing background and an appreciation for classic Disney. Studio leaders seem laser-focused on preventing a repeat of the Rachel Zegler fiasco, where casual comments ballooned into a full-blown scandal. Still, some fear that too many restrictions could lead to bland, over-rehearsed publicity. Balancing authenticity with caution will be a tricky line to walk. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs isn't just another film. It's the cornerstone of Disney's entire identity. Critics note that if Disney can't respect the story that launched its empire, it signals deeper problems within the company. Past remakes, from Aladdin to Mulan, have faced criticism for missing the emotional spark of the originals. But botching Snow White feels like a betrayal on a different level, one that could shake faith in the brand's future. Should the 2027 film regain the warmth and sincerity of the classic, it could mark a turning point, proving Disney can balance tradition with gentle updates. If it fails, it might confirm to the public that the studio has lost its grip on the timeless magic that once defined it. Some question whether a second failure would push Disney away from more live-action remakes or prompt a radical shift in how it treats legacy properties. Rachel Zegler's short-lived tenure as Disney's Fresh Princess star became a cautionary tale. While she tried to bring a modern perspective, many fans perceived her remarks as outright disrespect for the original. Disney itself has been tight-lipped, distancing its brand from the controversies she inadvertently ignited. Insiders say conflicting guidance from various departments left Zegler unsure of how far to push the modern update. Now, the studio appears determined to wipe the slate clean. For better or worse, Zegler's involvement serves as a lesson in how delicate legacy properties can be, and how quickly fan goodwill can evaporate when creative visions clash with audience nostalgia. Online communities reflect a split down the middle. Many hope the second reboot is a genuine return to Snow White's roots, relishing the promise of seeing cherished songs and characters restored with classic flair. Others remain deeply suspicious, recalling how past live-action remakes touted similar reverence only to unveil radically altered plots and tones. To these skeptics, Disney's abrupt pivot smacks of desperation rather than sincere appreciation for the original story. Speculation runs wild over who might be cast, what changes might appear, and whether the comedic dwarfs or the prince's heroic role will remain intact. Every rumor or leaked detail fuels new debates on whether Disney can truly put the genie back in the bottle and recapture the joyful simplicity that made the 1937 film immortal. Disney's second reboot is at least 2 years away from full-scale production. In that time, script tweaks, casting news, and marketing leaks will shape public perception. With the overshadowing negativity of 2025's adaptation still fresh, the studio must tread carefully. One poorly handled reveal could reignite the number, "Not my Snow White" sentiment. Conversely, a well-crafted teaser that hits the nostalgic sweet spot might restore hope for a faithful portrayal. Fans are left to speculate, combing through every rumored detail. Will we see a more traditional Snow White who sings with forest friends and falls for a valiant prince? Or will Disney slip new updates under the radar, risking another backlash? Until shooting begins, and perhaps even beyond, this project remains in a precarious state of flux. Zegler's controversy remains a haunting example of how quickly a star's comments can derail a film. Disney is rumored to be enforcing stricter protocols for interviews, ensuring cast members stay on script to avoid belittling the original. Some worry this might stifle genuine enthusiasm, turning promotional events into repetitive talking points. But after the chaos surrounding the first reboot, Disney seems willing to sacrifice spontaneity for damage control. Whether this brand of micromanagement can strike a balance between sincerity and caution is an open question. Fans crave authentic passion from the film's leads, not carefully curated lines. Yet the risk of another PR disaster might be too great. compelling Disney to keep creative staff and actors on a very short leash. This second shot at Snow White represents a crossroads for Disney. If the studio can channel its original fairy tale spirit, it may reaffirm why it became a household name. Families might once again trust Disney to handle beloved classics with care. But if it flops, especially after the fiasco of the 2025 attempt, it will fuel the argument that Disney is stuck in an endless cycle of misguided remakes and corporate miscalculations. Executives promise a marketing campaign blending nostalgia and state-of-the-art filmmaking. There will likely be behind-the-scenes documentaries, carefully curated teasers, and PR announcements touting the return of the fairest one of all to her rightful place in cinematic history. Yet, the outcome hinges on whether Disney can deliver a heartfelt story that resonates with longtime fans and new viewers alike. Can the studio rekindle Snow White's timeless charm, or is it too late to undo the damage? One thing is certain, the world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher for the fairy tale that started it all. So, what do you think? Is Disney's second Snow White reboot a genuine effort to restore the magic, or simply a business move to dodge a PR disaster? Are fans ready to see a classic retelling, or has the goodwill built over decades been spent for good? Let us know if you think the 2027 adaptation can recapture the wonder of Walt Disney's first princess, or if this storied franchise is already beyond saving. That's the full story of Disney's double dip into the Snow White well, one attempt mired in controversy, and another promising a return to nostalgic glory. Will it succeed in reminding us why Snow White was the film that made Disney a legend, or will it confirm that the studio has lost touch with its own heritage? As we count down to 2027, all eyes remain on the fairest one of all, and whether her second live-action outing can redeem the mistakes of the first. Only time, and perhaps a dash of genuine fairy tale magic, will tell.